Hi everyone! It's so hard to believe that we are already on the 5th of May this year. Time just flies, honestly. Do you find that this year? I can't even wrap my head around how quickly the weeks go by. So as of the 5th of every month, we are bringing a fancy fold card challenge for you. And this month we are making a pop-up fun fold element for your cards, just like the one you can see on my screen now. This card I actually made quite a while ago, and there's a tutorial on my channel to this one. And in that video I also walk you through 5 different cards using completely different products and how you could make a pop-up element just like this using products you may already have in your stash. I am going to make 2 different cards today. For the first one I'm going to use the gorgeous stamp set that came with the latest Creative Stamping magazine. This is issue 147. I already have a walkthrough video of this issue and cards that I made using this stamp set, which I will leave a link in the description box below for you, so you can check that out after you watch this video if you wish. Digital paper downloads are also included in the magazine, which I have downloaded, printed, and there's lots of sentiments to go with it as well. I will use the stamps and the papers today for my card. I picked out the hot air balloon, the Clydes, some of those lovely silhouette birds, and a sentiment from the stamp set today. For my pop-up element, I'm going to use the large curved corner label Nestables die set from Creative Craft Products, and I picked out the smallest 3 of the set to use today. I'm using a top folding square card base from Heavyweight Cardstock. This one measures just a little bit under 6 inches. It's 5 7/8 by 5 7/8 of an inch. And I have a slightly smaller, a 5 3/4 of an inch square holographic silver card, of which I cut out that middle piece in there because you won't be able to see that anyway, and I will be able to use that middle piece on my topper, but I am going to replace it just with a white die cut from my scrap drawer, just to make a little bit for that height difference that the mirror cardstock adds in there. The printed paper from the set measures just 1/8 of an inch smaller than my holographic cardstock, leaving with a lovely thin border in there. Now I'm going to use the 3 dies that I picked out from my die set. And using the largest one, I die cut it twice from Heavyweight Cardstock, going to score down halfway in each of these. And on these die cuts, because of the shape of them, it's very easy to find the halfway. But if you're using dies that are more awkward to find the halfway point, all you have to do is cut out the same die cut from copy paper, which is easily folded in half. And once you fold it in half and butt it against your own die cut there, the Heavyweight Cardstock die cut, it's very easy to find the halfway point, and you can easily score down. Now I'm going to say it in here. This fun fold works best with symmetrical die cuts. So once you folded them in half and butt the 2 against each other, along the fold line in there, you will get the same shape as if you had before. So this fold I find works with lots of different dies, which you will see in the video that I will link at the end of this one, but they need to be symmetrical. I'm adding glue just to 1/2 of each of these, and I'm going to glue them on my card base. I'm trying to center them as much as I can, and I'm using liquid glue, so that leaves me with a regular remainder just to pull them and push them into place to make sure they are nice and centered on the card. I have the next size down, so the one size smaller white die cut in there, and I'm finding the halfway point and I'm just cutting this in half. Now you don't need to do this step. I like to do this because I find that this will strengthen up those wings or flaps that are sticking up from the card in there. Using the color glue will leave it even much stronger. Now I use the one size smaller in here, but you can go just with the same size as you've done before, or you can skip that step altogether. For the topper, with the largest die again, I have the white die cut. With the next one down, I have the holographic, and the smallest one of the 3, I have the same pattern paper as I've used on my bang grind. I'm just going to use liquid glues just to stack these up on top of each other. I'm not adding foam pads to the topper, but I will be adding foam pads later when I'm decorating it with my stamped elements. So in here I just use liquid glue. And now I have to create my little springs to go on these. So these are 2 pieces of cardstocks measuring 2 by 1 inches, score down at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5. Fold down on the middle score line one direction, and then pull the other 2 score lines the other direction. So you'll end up with these M or W shapes, and I have 2 of these. And notice how I didn't burnish my score lines on these. I just gently folded them because I want to retain that lovely springiness of those. Added glue just to the one end, to the 1/2 inch section. And I am going to glue this in about 1/4 inch from that middle line in there, from that center line where the 2 die cuts meet. And then I'm going to add the other side, just a mirror image to that first one. So again, about 1/4 inch-ish in from that center line. So this is the look that you should end up with. Now I'm going to add my glue to the 2 other 1/2 inch of sections in there, and this is where I'm going to glue my topper onto. So I'm making sure it is nice and straight. It leaves me with a little bit of a wiggle room because I used liquid glue. But you can use double-sided tape if you feel more confident with that. So this is what your card should look like at this point. It folds down nice and flat, depending obviously of the embellishments that you will be using. I have my hot air balloon, which I colored in with my brand new alcohol markers from Sentimental Yours. I have to say, I really am enjoying using those. I've stamped everything with Onyx blacking and clear heat embossed using the clear gloss embossing powder by Wow. And I added, of course, glitter to my elements. You'll see them more on close-ups at the very end of this video. And these are the 3 silhouette birds. I just pussycut everything. The sentiment says I'm here to lift you up. I cut it into a strip, and I cut a slightly larger strip, which I added pink color to using one of the pink alcohol markers that I used on the hot air balloon. And then I'm just trying to decide which direction or what way I want to arrange everything on my card. And because of the birds, not birds, the birds are flying the different direction, I'm going to change the direction of my hot air balloon in here. And this way, I'm just going to glue everything down. I'm going to use foam pads to some of these elements, others I'm just going to glue straight onto my card topper. And while I'm doing this, I would just very quickly like to mention about this challenge a little bit. If you haven't yet heard about the Fancy Fold Craft Challenge, which is run by the lovely Monika, aka Paper Mona, on the 5th of each month, we have a different fun fold to work with. There's quite a few of us now, and I will leave a link to everyone's channel who is taking part in this challenge, so you can check out their makes and their different takes on this particular fold. If you would like to join in, when sharing your makes on social media, use the hashtag FFCChallenge2023. That way we will be able to search for and see your makes. Or you can join our Facebook group, the Fancy Fold Craft Challenge, which I will also leave a link to in the description box below. You can always share or post your makes in there as well. It's a lovely little community, and we would love to have you in there. So make sure after watching my video, you check the description box for all the other links. I cannot wait to see what all the other ladies are making. It's always so interesting to see how all of us uses the same prompt, the same fun fold, but we come up with completely different ideas. I really hope you enjoy this collaboration, and I do think this month's fun fold is quite interesting. I really love working with this one. So in here I'm just finishing the card, and I decided to add some little bling to it. First I wanted to add some sparkly stars into the background, but then I decided against that. I didn't want to overdo it because I already have quite a bit of a glitter on those embellishments. So I just decided to come in with some silver AB rhinestones. They're silver, but they catch the light and reflect all the different colors beautifully, matching the holographic cardstock just absolutely perfectly. So this is the first card ready. You can see how it folds flat into an envelope or a box. There's lots of room to write your message either on the back or on the inside of the card. And this is the first one finished. Let's jump into the second one. You would have seen me use the June Next Door kit, which came with the latest magazine by John Next Door magazine box kit. And it is gorgeous. I've used it quite a bit and I will not stop using it. Absolutely love it. So I'll be using the stamps, the dies and the papers today to create my card. My card base today will measure 5.5 by 7.5 inches. I cut a card to 11 by 7.5 and scored it down halfway at 5.5 inches. The holographic silver card I'm using again measures just 1/8 of an inch smaller, but I've cut a square out of the middle, which I will replace with a piece of a card from my scrap drawer. And I have quite a bit of this holographic card left, half sheets, quarter sheets in my scrap drawer, so that's why I'm trying to use them up. It's not necessary to use it on this card, but I just like to use it, and because I have so many scrap pieces, I want to use some of those up. So in here I'm just replacing that middle bit just with a piece of a scrap card. And now my paper from the John Next Door kit will again measure just 1/8 of an inch smaller than that holographic frame, and this one will come to 5.25 by 7.25 of an inches. I'm just using my quick grab glue just to add that on top of the holographic card. I recently just started using this. I find it quite quicker than having to use double-sided tape, which would have been my preferred choice, but I have to say the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue really sticks to mirror or glitter card as well, so yeah, that's a win-win for me. Along the die set from the magazine box kit, I also will be using the square nesting die set by Creative Craft Products, which is obviously not necessary. You can just cut squares using your trimmer. I just wanted to show you how you can use basic die shapes to create this fun fold as well. To cut that white frame you can see sitting on top of the nesting dies, I used the square die, the larger circle die, and the one with that detailed corners, like cogs in each corner. And the reason I'm showing you this now, because I just wanted to show you that the squares that I will be using to create my foam fold are slightly larger than that frame that I used. So the square that I'm using here measures about 3 5/8 of an inch, just slightly larger than the square frame that I had cut out, that detailed one. So I have 2 pieces of these cut out, and I scored them both down diagonally. And because I'm going with a diamond shape for these squares, that's why I needed my card base to be 5.5 by 7.5 inches. In here you can see if I wanted to keep all that in just a normal square orientation instead of the diamond one, that would allow me to drop down the size of my card drastically. I wanted this card to be a little bit bigger, and I like the diamond orientation, so that's why I'm going this one. But that's just another option for you. You can make a card just like I'm making today, much smaller, and you would still have that same effect. In here I have a slightly smaller square, so it's the next size down from the nesting die set, and I just cut these in half in a diamond shape again from corner to corner. So these are the bits that are going to reinforce the strength of those wings in there. Again, this is an optional step, just like on the first card, or you could make the square the same size as those flaps are. I do prefer to make them a bit smaller if I have a nesting die set to work with. I have my 2 pieces for the mechanism, 2 inches by 1 inches, again scored down at 1/2 inch, 1 inch and 1.5, and gluing them in about 1/4 of an inch from that center line in there. So this is my mechanism pretty much ready. Now I'm just going to set this aside just to let it dry a little bit while I'm working on my next bit for the topper. And to do this I'm going to use the square die from the John Next Door box kit. So that square die I cut a piece of pattern paper out with from the kit, but because it's quite a flimsy paper, I decided to glue it on top of a heavyweight cardstock, which I cut out with that same square in there. And now this step is optional again, because I'm going to glue this on top of a slightly larger white square, because I want to have a little border around it. So I could have just, if I wanted to glue the pattern paper straight onto a larger square, but I just like to have that subtle dimension on my card, so that's why I decided to use heavyweight cardstock behind the paper as well as then for that mat as well. For my next piece I've die cut this clock, which I used the clock face die and the larger of the circles, and I've die cut this 3 times and I stacked them up together off camera just again for a bit of an added dimension. I don't want this to be white though. I want to add some heat embossing to this. Now I could have just used brown cardstock if I wanted to, and I could have added the clear embossing powder to that, or just use some brining to add clear embossing powder to that. But because I have this in my stash since 2023 when I won the competition, and I haven't really been using these much at all, so I really want to start using up my stash a bit. That's why I'm using brine embossing powder in here. But there is a substitute, as I mentioned, of how you could create colored embossed piece for your makes without using colored embossing powder. So in here I heated it off camera, and I'm going to double emboss this because there were still white patches in there. So I wanted to dip it into my embossing ink pad again, sprinkle back the powder. But if you're going to double heat emboss, make sure that your piece is properly cooled down before you dip it back into your sticky embossing pad again. So this is this piece finished now, and I'm going to glue the frame on top of that square that we prepared earlier on, and I'm just using my quick grab glue and a fine tip glue bottle, and I'm just lining it up with the edges of that pattern paper because it is the same size. Now you would have probably figured out by now I'm going for masculine card for this one. And in here I'm just adding my topper on top of the springs in there. Added glue to the 1/2 inch tab at the very end, and I just used the corners of each diamond to line them up with the mechanism. And this is what it looks now. I really love how cool this is. So you can see how just a simple shape like a square can create that lovely fold and that lovely mechanism as well. Now, to add my embellishments for this, the clock, I want to raise this up a bit. So using the smaller of the circle dies, I die cut this 4 times, stack them up together. I could have used a foam pad in here to add this embellishment, but because I'm going to put this in the post, I thought that this would just hold up a little bit better. So that's why I used heavyweight cardstock, 4 circles of it, and stack them up together. And this lifts the clock face away from the background lovely and plays with the shadows there really nicely. I have an extra circle in here, and then I've cut out the hands from that holographic cardstock, but to me this was missing something in here, so I went off camera and I've cut the circle out of that same blue paper that is on the background. I did not like that, so that idea got scrapped very quickly. However, I die cut the hands of the clock out of white cardstock in here, and I'm going to add some embossing to these using the same embossing powder that I used for the clock. So this is the brine, the Turkish coffee embossing powder, and I'm just going to add the color to these. And I'm not going to swap the holographic hands out for these. I'm going to stack them on top of each other. So I'm adding my glue to the embossed piece in there, and I'm going to glue the holographic on top of these, offsetting it slightly. I'm going to zoom in just in a wee second so you can see what way they turn out. You can see them on that white mat in there. And that's however subtle that effect is, it adds a lot of difference when I'm gluing this on top of my clock. I just love it. Might not show it as much on camera in here, but in real life it really adds that interest that I was looking for to add to my card. So I'm just, I randomly picked the times just coming to 4 o'clock in there. But you can obviously set this to any time if you know what time a party starts at or what time someone was born at. It is so lovely way to make personalized cards by using time on them. From the stamp set, I picked out the cogs and I stamped and heat embossed them using the same embossing powder again. Again, you can just stamp them with brining and add some clear embossing powder to them if you wish. In here, I'm just, because I can't tuck them under the mechanism, obviously, it's already glued down. I'm cutting some of them in half, some of them I'm just leaving full, and I'm just arranging them on two opposite sides of that square topper. And then I also have die cut using the dies from the set those little flowers, and I use the silver holographic card to do that from. It will be real nice and subtle shine in there, but brings everything on the cards together. Do let me know in the comment section below if you have any of these magazines that I'm using today to create my cards. If you don't have them and you'd like to check them out, I will leave a link to them on Craft Stash and on the digital versions on the Craft World website as well, so you can check them out if you wish. I would love to know if you've used these, if you have them already, and what you've created with them. So do leave me a comment. I love reading the comments. I know I'm a bit slow replying to them lately, but rest assured that I am reading them and I'm making lists of the requests that I've had, because I've had quite a few on what to create. So thank you so much for that. So this card will be finished with some numbers in the corner. It's for a special 70th birthday, and I will be using the same technique I used for the hands. So it will be a drop shadow effect behind the holographic card for the number 70. But you will see those pictures at the end of this video. So you can see how lovely and flat it folds as well. And these are the two cards beside each other. So two completely different takes on that same foam fold. And as I mentioned before, I will leave a link at the end of this video for you to click on to 5 more different ideas. And of course, make sure you go and check the ladies' channels out, which are all linked in the description box below, because they are coming in with some amazing ideas too. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what they've made with this fold. So here are the close-ups of both of the cards that I made. And if you liked today's tutorial, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel and make sure you hit the notification bell to make sure you get notified when I upload new videos. If you liked my video and would like to share with your crafty friends, I would really appreciate that, and leave me a comment in the comment section below. All of that helps me get seen on YouTube, and I really appreciate your support and your help on this journey. I will be back soon. I hope to see you then. Bye!